Hello everyone, welcome back to Nammalax Bangalore Presents Current Issue of the Day, episode number 191. Open your phone, search x.com, search Instagram, search any social media for that matter. The trending news is the breakdown in government of Nepal. Prime Minister Oli resigned from his chair of Prime Minister. Prime Minister Oli ended his fourth Prime Minister's tenure just after taking his helm in July 2024. So you might be asking me, what is happening in Nepal? All of a sudden there is a government overall. All of a sudden there is a coup. Let me tell you a story of an individual called as Ramesh. Who was Ramesh? Ramesh was a 17-year-old student. He was protesting against Nepal government. He was protesting against Nepal corruption. When he was protesting, the police were ordered to use the bullets, rubber bullets. Instead of using the rubber bullets, they started using bullets, real bullets, which ultimately led to death of the 17-year-old innocent protester or a student, which enraged the youth, specifically the Gen Z. This resulted in revolution, which ultimately led to parliament being burnt, which ultimately led to prime minister resigning from the office. You might ask me, because an individual protest against the government, because the death happened, this resulted in the overall of the government? Is it really is issue so simple? The issue is not really simple actually. There is a background to this. Let me tell you a story. Time is August 2026, 2025. That is just 1 month back. What happened in Nepal was that the Gen Z, who are these Gen Z? Gen Z is a communities, not the communities. Gen Z is given a term given to youths who were born between 1997 and 2012. So are approximately between the age of 13 and 28, who are approximately in between the age of adult life. So these people who were born between 1997 to 2012 are called as Gen Z. People born before 1997 are called as millennials. People who were born after 2012 are called as Gen Alpha. Okay, Gen Z or Gen Z is the current youth now. Okay, so what happened was that the Gen Z took up social media. They took social media like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, etc. They started exposing corruption of Nepal. How did they do it? They used to target a specific minister. They used to create a reel in which they used to show the development or ill development or the corruption done by the particular prime minister. In the same reel, they used to show about their property, their fortunes, their children, how their children are enjoying life outside of Nepal, how their children are enjoying life of Ivy universities. They used to compare this, what the politician is doing to Nepal and what their children are enjoying outside of Nepal. This started gathering attention. Lot of Gen Z started asking questions. After one politician, next the other politician or the other ministers targeted. Similarly, they started targeting all the ministers. As a result, they went to prime minister as well. They decided to show the current context or the current state of Nepal, and then they showed the showed the luxurious life of all these politicians and their children. This resulted in large uproar in Nepal. So what did the government do? They took a foolish decision. They decided to ban 26 social medias in Nepal. You know, the people who were making the reels, who were uploading to social media and who were protesting were a small section of the society. Now you decided to ban social media. Who is dependent on social media? That is Gen Z. Gen Z considers social media not just as a means for studying, they consider social media as part of their life itself. Now, if you ban 26 social medias, now half part of their life is gone now. So they decided to take up arms, not the arms, they decided to protest against government. They decided to protest against government. As a result, many people came on the grounds. The first blunder was banning the social media, and then the Nepal government committed another blunder. What was the blunder? They gave military and the police to curb the protest. First, they gave an order to use rubber bullets. However, when the government gave the rubber bullet uh, decision or the order, some police misused it. They started beating up students, which ultimately led to death of few students such as Ramesh. Totally, more than 17 to 25 students died in this battle. So, which ultimately enraged youth even more. So, they decided to storm the parliament building itself. They decided to storm the parliament building and they decided to set the parliament building on fire. Not only that, they decided to storm the house of Prime Minister Oli. they decided to beat up the prime minister. You can see, and you can see certain images where the prime minister is bleeding from the beatings of youth. They even beat his wife, who is the foreign minister of Nepal. They beat her as well. You can see all these images that are surfacing on the social media. And finally, the military had to intervene, and the military had to take up all these foreign ministers, all these ministers outside of Kathmandu to military base. This is what happened. So now, what is next for Nepal? Now there will be president rule, and then we will understand what is the next step. Will there be new elections, or will there be changes in corruption? Okay. Now let me tell you a story. Do you see a pattern here? Government does some mistake, corruption, and the youth started deciding, protesting against government, and government tries to the government try to pressurize them. Government tries to curb them, which enrages them, like puts more oil to the fire, which finally resulted in government overhaul. Do you see the same pattern? Like, think of Indian neighbors. Think of Indian neighbor on the east. Think of Indian maritime neighbor on the south. Do you remember Sri Lanka in 2023, where youth, because of the economic turmoil, decided to storm the parliament building, decided to swim in the parliament building, which ultimately led to change in the government? Then think of Bangladesh 2024. They considered Sheikh Hasina government. They thought that Sheikh Hasina government used malpractices or malpractices in the election. They thought Sheikh Hasina was curbing the opposition. So the youth and the student decided to take up arms, decided to protest against the government, which ultimately led to Sheikh Hasina fled into India, and also the government being overthrown, which resulted in new government. Do you see the same pattern? Sri Lanka first, Bangladesh next, and now Nepal. So who is behind these actually? Okay, we'll discuss about that in the next video. But for now, what will be this implication? What will be the implication of Gen Z revolution, not only on Nepal, but also on India-Nepal relations, and also on the South Asia? Okay, because the recurring trends or recent trends of Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh show a concerning trend in South Asia on regional stability and the internal security of India. So in this video, we'll discuss about implications of this event on Nepal, on India, on South Asia. Okay, so this is important for us in GS paper 2, international relations, and GS paper 3, internal security. Context is, after the revolution from Gen Z. Who are Gen Z? As I already explained you, those who were born between 1987 to 2012 are considered as Gen Z or Generation Z. Prime Minister Oli resigned from the office. Why did he resign? He resigned because worst unrest in decades. Nepal is experiencing worst unrest in decades, and he ended his fourth term as a prime minister, which was between July 2024 to September 9, 2025. So there will be fresh elections in the coming years, and we have to wait and see what will happen. Now let us discuss the implications from the UPSC perspective. Okay, so what is the background? As I already explained to you, the background is because of ban on the social media ban in September 2025. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, X were blocked for failing to register under new regulations. Government cited misinformation and national security as the reasons. For government, this misinformation was the information about politicians and their children. So they wanted the social media to ban any reels or any content which is disclosing their corruption or disclosing their children. So they decided to ban the social media. Then with perspective, that is Gen Z, the digital natives. That is, social media is central to education, livelihoods, news, and civic participation. We would ban as censorship, curtailing fundamental rights, that is right to freedom of speech. It is also under Article 19 of Nepal's constitution as well. The right to speech and freedom of speech and expression is also under Article 19 of Indian constitution as well. The major underlying issue was not the social media ban itself, but the current rampant corruption, poor governance, and nepotism. High unemployment and daily migration of youth abroad. That is more than 3,000 to 5,000 youth migrating from Nepal to other countries. Mental health and climate anxieties added to this frustration. Then after this, the protest unfolded. Scale and the leadership. There was a nationwide protest which was led by Gen Z, non-partisan, decentralized, organized via digital platforms before the ban. So what was the government response? Government initially tried to crack down, the brutal crackdown, that is live bullets, rubber bullets, water cannons, and tear gas, which ultimately resulted in 90 plus deaths. According to the recent estimate, it is around 25 deaths, hundreds injured, and Ramesh among the victims, which I already explained you. Outcome was the ban was lifted, Home Minister resigned, but finally PM Modi under immense pressure, eventual political uncertainty is on Nepal. PM Modi resigned himself and the government is in chaos at the moment. So why is this a Gen Z problem? Why is banning of social media a Gen Z problem or Gen Z problem? Digital natives versus traditional governance. That is, youth expect transparency, accountability, participatory governance, low tolerance for censorship and corruption, which is against the traditional norms of governance. Which is against the traditional norms of governance. And low tolerance for censorship and corruption from the Gen Z. However, the tolerance for corruption and censorship from the government side is very low. They do not want these to be exposed, obviously because they are the chief stakeholders in this one. And global context is similar patterns can be seen in South Asia like Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and South Sri Lanka as well. It emphasizes youth as catalyst for democratic activism. Is it really democratic activism or any personal vendetta or vandalism? We have to wait and see. So the implications, which is very important part of our video. First, the implications on Nepal on the domestic policies. Erosion of trust in government, demand for party reforms, rise of youth-led activism as a permanent force in Nepali politics. The social implications is heightened awareness of civil rights, brain drain and migration pressures may increase if structural reform fail. And the economic dimension, disruption of online-based work such as freelancing, education and e-commerce, which is the livelihood or lifeline of many of the youth. Now, what will be its implications on India and Nepal relations? First, the diplomatic observations. India has to stay calm. India is concerned about the regional stability, digital rights and human rights. There is possible influence on India's digital governance policies and cross-border cooperation as well. There can be impact of this Gen Z revolution on India as well. It can inspire the Gen Z of India themselves. You can see the pattern that happened in Arab Spring. Okay, Arab Spring. What happened in Arab Spring? The revolution which started in Tunisia. Tunisia expanded to whole of Arabian countries, which resulted in many countries losing the government and many countries resulting in coup or war of the government. But sadly, in many countries, it resulted in civil war, such as Libya, Syria, Morocco, etc. And the policy lessons heightens or highlights need for regional frameworks on internet governance and civil liberties. Cross-border youth interactions may inspire activism impacting diplomatic discourse. So, what is the lesson for UPSC aspirants in this one? That is, for governance, how digital regulation and transparency affect the public trust. For polity and rights, right to expression, censorship and youth participation in democracy is paramount. They should not be curtailed. And for international relations, cross-border implications of domestic unrest and society and development, youth unemployment, migration and mental health and environmental concerns as triggers for social movements. Okay, so we have to wait and see what will be the final implications of this evolution or revolutions in Nepal. But it is one of the most chief significant events in the recent past. I was doing some other news, but by the time I started doing the other news, this news broke out or this event broke out, so I had to drop that video, and I'm doing this video an article in episode 191. So this ends our discussion for the day. We have to wait and see what will be the final implications of this move. Okay, so if you like the video, if you like the initiative, please hit the like button, comment on it and also share with your friends. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and also click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any notification. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.